Yo guys, welcome to my new video. This time around, the game I'll discuss about was played against EO from the Classist. It happened in the 4th week of the past SPL, and the score before the battle was 4-2 for the Classist. So, with that being said, let's move to the team building. So, let's talk about the team, shall we? So for this week, I wasn't really finding any new ideas to exploit, and I just ended up revamping some team, tested them, and at the end I just remember that I was hesitating between these teams that you can see above and something a lot more like safer, something fat, you know, that usual Skarmory Tarita Among Us build. And as I was debating between my options, I talked a bit with Tamahome, my teammate, and he told me to run offense because I could use it better, like I could use my full potential, and I just liked the inspiration it gave me, so I ended up going with that team that you can see. Just to establish the origin of the team, it was made with Dark Loic, or Alf if you know him by this name, in an ancient World Cup, like from 2013 I'd say, and I liked this team ever since. I often relied on it when I played in Smogon Tour, and I just made some modifications and decided to go with it. You might have seen it around a bit lately, particularly in the current Smogon Tour, as it's been passed around. So anyway, what about that team? First of all, we have Toxic Rogue, which is I guess you could say it's the main Pokemon of this team. But really, it's Toxic Rogue and Volcarona together, because they are two really good Pokemon in rains, in my opinion. Toxic Rogue for the obvious reason you could say, it just abused the rain with its ability Dry Screen. And I like Volcarona in rain, because Volcarona is really threatening to a lot of sand teams. And when you use rain, you really want to use at least one Pokemon that can dismantle sand teams. So it gives you that advantage when you face this very common playstyle. Also, I just had that Volcarona has been a bit worse recently, because people finally started catching up and are running faster Scarfer like Garchomp instead of Landorus T in the past. So anyway, let's talk about the Pokemon. First of all, Toxic Rogue with this substitute set. It hasn't been common until recently, where it finally started to catch on, thanks to, I'd say, this team and some teams that Jade used in the past SPL. I think substitute Toxic Rogue with Black Sludge or Leftovers, whatever, is really good, because you can max the bulk and use a Toxic Rogue, really great type for the benefits of your team, because it's a great Terrakion check, and most importantly, an amazing Keldeo counter. And I really like it even more in rain offense in this case, because rain offense can kind of struggle against Keldeo. And especially if you want to go with Starmie, which means you won't use Tentacruel, and then Scarf Keldeo become even more of an issue. It can really sweep you. And Toxic Rogue, really good fit in those teams, because you have that water immunity, that sturdy Keldeo check. Anyway, Sub-Toxic Rogue, so you have that bulk, and Focus Punch, Ice Punch, Sucker Punch, really great coverage, gives you priority, and this set is really geared toward beating offense. So you could say it's kind of my offense check in this team. Next up, Politoed for the rain. I decided to go with the Choice Scarf set because I didn't want to put a Scarf on Landorus. I explained why, and it was the only Pokemon that could run a Scarf in this team. Pretty important here, because I needed to outspeed Alakazam and break its dash if I face it. The moveset is pretty standard. Once again, that's the one I used against Shoka in week 2, and I'll just say the same comment that I said at the time. You can fit Hypnosis on Scald or Hydro Pump, because Sleep is really good and you don't in Black and White, but I prefer the reliability on those two moves. Next up, Landorus T with a pretty innovative moveset. In the first iteration of this team, I use the good old reliable like double dense Landorus, sword dense rock polish with earthquake and stone edge coverage. And when I had to play EO, I was testing some teams around with Jirachi, the user from McMeghan, and he told me about this set, and I really liked the idea as soon as he told me. So basically, you have a superpower with a 5 gem, and it allows you to get some really good surprise skill. Like, I like the surprise factor in general. It's something I really like in Pokemon, because you can turn tides around in a game. And in this case, you can even hide your item on Landorus, because you don't. If you just use Earthquake or HP Ice, which are common moves, you can hide a Scarf, for example. And SD5 Gem Superpower has a lot of advantages. I just mentioned a few that come up to mind. You get to one-shot Skarmory and Rotom after a single boost, which is pretty big, especially Skarmory. You get to hit Excadrill through the balloon. You get to hit Heatran through the balloon, which is something EO really liked. Like Air Balloon Heatran has been kind of his signature Pokemon in the past. So another reason for me to use it. And you also get to hit Hydreigon pretty hard. So I like the idea. So Iron Ice is the best move to round off the moveset in my opinion, because you want that damage against Landorus T, especially post Intimidate. And Gliscor too, but most importantly, Landorus T. So Landorus T is my first Sandbreaker. I always want those Pokemon that can unlock situations against fat teams, so I can establish my win conditions with those Pokemon. Next up, Ferrothorn, another rain staple. Just some solid stuff. I went with Dual Hazard and Dual Offensive move, because I don't really need the Ferrothorn to stick around. I just need it early game to take some hits and keep my other Pokemon healthy. And both offensive moves, so nothing can set up on it too easily. Next up, Starmie. Honestly, Starmie is just amazing in general. I love it in black and white, and especially in rain, it's a really fearsome Pokemon, really fast, really powerful. And in this team, since I ran Volcarona, I needed a spinner, so it just made perfect sense. Regarding the item, I honestly don't like the power from Life Orb is incredible, especially with Analytic. But I really dislike the drawback and the fact that you lose 10% of your health every turn. Like I really hate that in general. So I went with Mystic Water instead, and just boost the Hydro Pump. I don't think you really need the boost of damage on Ice Beam and Thunder anyway. I'll just something else I'll just mention. I think in general, Psyshock is really good in black and white over the electric coverage on Starmie, because you you have a style move against Keldeo and Among Us in particular, so it doesn't annoy you too much. But Thunder still has some advantages, and in this team it can help me to spin against Jellicent if I face one, which could be an issue otherwise. And in the last slot, Volcarona. Really great Pokemon in black and white. I mean, a lot of people will tell you that it's not that good because unless it's setups, it's not a threat, but I just like it because it has so many auto wins against a lot of team people like to use. They don't want to really prepare for Volcarona sometime, and they end up paying the price. Anyway, Volcarona, just some details that I mentioned about it and that I like about Volcarona in general, like not even in this team in particular, but in all teams that should run Volcarona. First off, I really hated when Volcarona doesn't run a move that beats Heatran, because if you run Volcarona, in my opinion, you will need to beat fat teams, especially Sands, but all fat teams that wouldn't run Chansey or Blissey. And you don't wanna be unless you run Doctrine, of course, but you don't wanna be stopped in your track by Heatran. So I always advise to use HP Ground or HP Water if you use it in rain. HP Water also has some other benefits, of course, like one-shotting Landorus. Fire Blast here for the coverage, I think it's better in general. Like, Hurricane is pretty good too. It one-shot Keldeo and it can hit Dragonite. And I like Fire Blast better because even in rain, it will help you to... You don't want to use a Volcarona that is rolled by Skarmory. You want the one-shot on Ferrothorn too. And that's the most useful. You also get more damages against Jirachi. Lumberry, another great item of Volcarona in my opinion, because usually you have only one shot to sweep, and you can afford more sweeping, you can afford more setup opportunities by running a Lumberry, because you can set up on something that could paralyze you. Like, people in the past used to run a T-Wave on the Latios or Latias when the team was weak to Volcarona, because Lati is a prime Volk setup bait, and with Lumberry you remove that option from them. Regarding the EV spread, the speed is enough to reach to outspeed max speed Landrosty. Like Structure Landrosty is just slower than Volcarona, and that's what I like the best in Volcarona. I don't want to be slower than Scarf Landrosty at +1, and just some bull that can always be useful. So yeah, that's what I went with. I liked our. I'm really well equipped against offense with both Toxic Rogue and Stormy. And then I have both Landorus and Volcarona to beat more defensive teams. So yeah, let's move to the game now. So here we are for the game against EO. I just mentioned two things before talking about the game. You might know EO as EO Youth Mortus. Just thought I would let this be known. So yeah, that's the same guy. And regarding last week, after I beat Dice, we ended up tying the week. Like we were 6-3 after my game, but the Sharks got us back. So we kinda had to win this week, despite the score being 2-4 before my game. I really wanted us to win the week, so we wouldn't be falling in points before going into the mid-season. Anyway, that's just details. You're not here for that. Let's talk about the game. So a team preview. What did I see? Some fairly standard offense. Keldeo, Jirachi, and there was all common. Among Us, another staple, Alakazam, like nothing too out of the ordinary. I was expecting something a bit fatter from EO, but like I said in the team building, I have Toxic Rogue and Stormy for offense anyway, and Toxic Rogue is looking really good in this matchup. He has no good switch into it, and he has both Keldeo and Among Us that I can abuse by getting free subs, and once I get behind the sub, I can just wreak a lot of havoc on his team. So that's what I try to do in this game. And if you remember what I said about Among Us in the past week, I just say it again, but a lot of people like to lead Among Us and get the sleep off, and you can abuse that by getting a free sub. And that's what I'm gonna try to do, because I expect him to lead Scourers. I don't have a sleep absorber on this team, and he can get his free spore, so I'm just gonna try to abuse that and lead with a Toxic Rogue for the sub. There's something else that I mentioned that you can do against those people who like to lead Among Us and spore. You can just lead with your own sleeper. So you put Among Us out of commission before it sleeps you. But keep in mind that a lot of Among Us run sleep talk in black and white. Anyway, what does he do? Exactly what I said. He goes Among Us lead for the spore, and I go Toxic Rogue. So I can just get a free sub on it, and he goes Landorus directly. Like, I didn't want to risk a spore anyway by going Ice Punch on the Landorus, and it's the move that makes the more sense for him, as he can get the Intimidate before I go into my sub. So that's what happened. Get the Intimidate, no big deal once again. I am behind the sub anyway. If he decides to break the sub with Earthquake, Ice Punch will do will remove a big chunk of its art, especially if it's not defensive. Decide to U-turn instead and go Jirachi. Doesn't break the sub. Ice Punch does jack, but at least I'm behind the sub and I'm getting some health back. So time to fire for free Focus Punch, which is pretty useful because I get to see what this Jirachi is about. Especially in black and white, it can run so many sets. If you can establish early what the Jirachi is, it's always useful information. So Focus Punch do it 42, not a lot. Like, I know the Intimidate was in, but that's a bulky Jirachi for sure. And he shows T-Bolt, so at this point I'm expecting Stealth Rock with 3 attacks, or just a mixed Jirachi, like sub or maybe 4 attacks. So what do I do next? I don't want to stay in with Toxic Rogue, because if you decide to run ahead and get the flinch, that's a lot of health that I lose, and I don't want... like, Toxic Rogue is really precious in this matchup, so I want to keep it as early as possible. I don't have really anything safe, especially as a Rain. Like, if Rain was up, Ferrothorn is free on this Jirachi. But right now I don't have anything to save, so I decided to go Volcarona instead. And I went Volcarona because Volcarona can also soak up anything from Jirachi. And with the Lumberry, he could even try to get a paralysis, it's no big deal. If he tries to go for the Iron Head, he could be punished by Flame Body. And he has Keldeo anyway. Like, I didn't mention it when I was discussing about team preview. But the fact that he has Keldeo is a bit annoying, because if it's a Scarf Keldeo, it means I can't sweep with Volcarona. But once again, no big deal, because Toxic Walker might be the MVP of this match anyway. So I don't mind getting losing some HP on the Volcarona. So I go directly to him. He used Iron Power, doing 18%, probably HP 5, might be HP ground, but I doubled it, probably HP 5. So no point in trying to set up right now with Volcarona. He has Keldeo under his wing, Charmander is at full. That's not the right time to try to set up and go for game. So I just fire a Bug Buzz. So if he goes Keldeo, which is his Scarfer and only way to check Volcarona, I can get some damages on it for later. He goes Tyranitar instead. I only do 40, so that Tyranitar is loaded up on special EVs. And it's probably its Walker too. So just, like, getting the 40 is pretty good, because if I get to set up later with Volcarona, Bug Buzz at +1 will kill, doing approximately 60. No item, probably Shopple Berry too. Anyway, I go Landorus here. The reason why is, like, I don't want to lose Hearts for no reason on Politoed. And same for Toxico. I didn't know what, I had no idea what it would use. I expected the rock moves or stealth rock, so Landorus felt safe. Also, Landorus again wasn't crucially needed against this team, because he can keep it in check between a Jirachi if it's faster or Keldeo, so I don't mind losing some hearts on it. He double switch and go to Keldeo, probably wanted to keep Volcarona in check, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't really expect a switch to Keldeo, but that's fine by me. He didn't get the rocks up, so I don't have to spin. I like that, especially since Keldeo, I have no problem switching into it between Starmie and Toxicroak. So I won't stay with Landorus instead, and I go with Politoed, so I can get the rain up and get, like, I like the rain up, so Ferrothorn doesn't have to fear a fire move from Jirachi, and most importantly, Toxicroak, if I get it on the field of the rain, it's just gonna be a pain for EO to take care of. So I went to set up the rain at this point. And he doubled to Landorus. I honestly don't really know why he doubled. Maybe I probably expected Toxicroak, so that's why he doubled to Landorus. Didn't work out for him, as I went Politoed instead. So now, Politoed against Landorus, I go Ferrothorn, and you see that he goes Among Us. And looking back at it, I might have, I maybe should have gone Toxicroak instead, because, like, it wasn't. Oh no, I remember why I went Landorus. He showed U-turn early on, so I thought it was Scarf Landorus. Like, it might not have been the case, but if it was Scarf, he would have used it. And I didn't really want him to get a U-turn on Toxicroak and get Alakazam for free on the field. So I went Ferrothorn instead. And I could even get some cheap on Landorus if he used U-turn with Iron Barbs. So he goes Among Us here, he double to Among Us here, and get to fire a Free Spore. I let Ferrothorn sleep. The main reason why is, in Black and White, I think, like, you can sort of hope to wake up in after one or two turns of sleep, and he has nothing that can one-shot Ferrothorn. Like, Among Us obviously won't threaten it under rain, like Iron Power Fire won't do enough, and he has to switch out. Like, I already burned my first turn of sleep here, as he's faster than me and put me to sleep. So he will have to switch out on the next turn, and I can even wake up on that turn. And since nothing can OKO me, I can even stay in on the next turn and go for the turn 2 sleep wake up and get my rocks up. So I decide to do that. I already burned my first turn, it goes Tyranitar, and I immediately wake up. And as I said, no big deal anyway. If I didn't wake up, he can't OKO me, and I can go for the second turn wake up and kill the Tyranitar with Pro Whip or get my rocks up. But fortune favor the brave, as you could say, and I get the first one wake up, and I get my rocks up. And at this point, he even has to switch out, otherwise he will lose Tyranitar. So that's even more momentum on my side. I decide to Power Whip just in case he tried to stay in and fire off Fire Blast or get the rocks up. I would punish it and win the Reservoir. So for Toxic Rock, so I'll Power Whip here. He goes back to Among Us. He doesn't like now it's not a problem anymore, because the fact that he goes Among Us means the only thing he can do in this situation is Spore, and I don't need Feral Sound anymore. I don't need it to check much of anything on his team, and I don't mind letting him go to sleep, so I absorb the sleep with it instead. Okay, so just to explain what I did here, if you remember what I said last week, so there was a chance that the Politoad could use Stun Spore here, because they like to do that after getting something to sleep. But I just wanted my rain up, and because I want to pressure EO as much as possible with Toxic Rogue, but even everything else. But I want to pressure him with my Rain Abuser, and I don't mind Toxic Rogue being paralyzed anyway. But he couldn't even afford it either, because I can wake up, and that's kind of an issue for him. Decided to go for Jirachi instead. I got Politoad in. Since I'm Scarfer, I knew I would speed it, and I wanted to get some damages off, because as soon as I kill Jirachi, Toxic Rogue is looking even better. Because Jirachi is his only safe Ice Punch switch, which means he can do what he did earlier, like going Landorus on the sub, then U-turn on the Jirachi for the Ice Punch. So I just wanted to weaken it. He decided to go Among Us instead. I missed, no big deal, it wasn't gonna do anything. And this time I go Toxic Rogue, because First One is put to sleep anyway, so Toxic Rogue is safe on Among Us. The only thing he can do is paralyze me, but I don't need the speed anyway. It could be annoying if I get full paralyzed later anyway, of course. But I don't need the speed, so I don't mind getting the paralysis if he uses Stun Spore. I decide to Giga Drain instead anyway. So now, things are looking amazing, because I have a free sub on this Among Us. He has nothing safe on Toxic Rogue to switch on Toxic Rogue, and I even have my Rain up, so I can use a sub for free. And I will get so much hearts back every time. He goes directly Jirachi. Honestly, maybe it was safer to go Landorus for the Intimidate, but at the same time, since he couldn't put me to sleep, I could, like, it was a possibility for me to just use Ice Punch straight away. So that's why he probably didn't go Landorus, which works out even better for me, because I get a free sub, and this time I'm not even intimidated. So Focus Punch is gonna do at least like 65 to this Jirachi. And that's what I do. I use Focus Punch as he breaks the sub, and I do 63. So Jirachi now is pretty much put out of commission, not a problem anymore, and it's even better because it's in Sucker Punch range too. And you might wonder, like, I was thinking a bit when I was in this situation, what am I gonna do next turn? Do I try to predict the lander with Ice Punch? Do I try to Sucker Punch the Jirachi for the kill? I was thinking about it, and then it hit me. Jirachi cannot threaten Toxic Rogue. Like, they don't run Psychic in black and white, so it can't one-shot me. And even if I one-heads and gets a flinch, it won't do too much. It's gonna do like what, 35 at best, 30? They don't run much. When they have T-balls, they don't run much attack anyway. And between Dry Skin and Leftovers, I'll get so much health back that I can't afford taking flinches. So I thought I can just sub, because the only thing he can threaten Toxic Rogue with is Iron Head. If he doesn't get the flinch, I get a free sub, and if he uses something else, I have a free sub. And now, like, getting a sub pretty much gives me so much momentum, so much offensive possibilities. So I go for it, and he decides to not Iron Head. He Icy Win instead, and I get the sub. So this turn pretty much put EO like at such a disadvantage. It's gonna be hard for him to come back, and I And I'm gonna try to get as many mileage as possible out of this situation. So now I decide to reveal the Sucker Punch. Maybe didn't expect Sucker Punch. I don't know. Probably did. Anyway, it's time to reveal it because he can punish me. Like, even if he switches out the Sucker Punch, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna go Alakazam? Like, I will break Alakazam Sash in this case. Is he gonna go Landorus? Landorus won't get to intimidate me, so Ice Punch is gonna kill it. And the other three, of course, are not a good option against Toxico. So I decide to use Sucker Punch, and I kill the Jiwachi. And as you can see now, I'm behind myself, he can't intimidate me, and I'm getting a lot of hearts back. I'm already back at 75, so Toxicroak is here to take this game home. He goes Alakazam here. I was thinking between Sucker Punch and Focus Punch, but I can just Focus Punch for free. Like, Sucker Punch will only break the Sash, and so will Focus Punch. So I decide to Focus Punch instead, just in case he goes for something else. Anyway, he will Sky Mount. And honestly, I'm gonna try, like, you could say it was a bad move on his part, and at the time that's what I thought too, because he was in such a bad position against Toxicroak that I thought he would try to cut his loss with Alakazam and just break the sub. So even if the sash is broken, sorry, he can kind of get some momentum back. Like, he can check at least Toxicroak with Landorus on the next turn. But the thing is, after the match, I realized by watching some of his replays with this team later that he was Life Orb Alakazam instead. So if I decided to Sucker Punch as he attacked to break the sub, I would have one-shot Alakazam and pretty much won the game. So he tried to calm mind as he expecting maybe the safe Sucker Punch, and didn't work out for him. So now that the Sash is broken, I don't feel anything for this Alakazam, and I can use Sucker Punch. If he decides to calm mind, really no big deal. I get the hearts back anyway during this time, and I can use Sucker Punch a bit. I have some PPs left. So now, like, honestly, I think the game is pretty much won at this point. Toxicroak is behind the sub, he still hasn't broke it, and Toxicroak beat the remaining 4, he goes Keldeo. Keldeo doesn't do anything against Toxicroak, like, the only thing he can do is break the sub. So I fire off Focus Punch, I get a crit for the one shot. Honestly, it didn't matter because at this point it was gonna die anyway. Like, it was gonna survive with like 5-6%, dies to Stealth Rock or Sand if he gets it later. Dies to Sucker Punch too, not a problem. So now he finally get to finally get to force the Toxicroak out with Landorus. Since he showed the U-turn earlier, I decided to go to my own Landorus because I thought it can be a threat. At this point, it shows that I just go one turn back. By using Earthquake on the switch, it doesn't get any leftovers back. So at this point, it means that the Landorus is either Scarf or Rocky Helmet, which means it can't do anything. So I decided to go for the SD, expecting Scarf. I was thinking Scarf, so I just go for free SD. HP Ice wouldn't kill anyway. He goes Tyranitar, Superpower. I could have used Earthquake, but I didn't want him to go back to Landorus to try to check me. So I go for the Superpower just in case he goes Landorus and I get a lot of damages back on it, and then it's in Sucker Punch range. Decide to stay instead. Side the Tyranitar. Anyway, the game is pretty much over at this point. If I get a sub with Toxicroak, I win. If I get a setup with Volcarona, I win. And it's kind of autopilot. I was thinking, what if it's a Rock Polish head? What can it do at this point? It can, like, maybe I should have used HP Ice, but even if it gets a Rock Polish, like, it would need a lot of crit to get past both Starmie and Politoed, and even Landorus. It would need to be Rock Polish, HP Ice, and need at least 2 crits. And he reveals Rock Polish U-turn, something you really don't see often. I wasn't expecting it at all, but once again, not a problem anyway. It can't kill me. He used U-turn. Maybe, I think, in this position, honestly, he probably should have fished for a crit against Politoed. It was his only chance anyway at coming back in this game. U-turn instead. I just fire a Scald, and now that I'm locked on Scald, I can just let the Politoed die to Among Us. And since Volcarona has Lumberry, I can set up on the Among Us for free and win from this point. I can also get a sub with Toxicroak and win too. Like, the game is already over, so that's what I do. I just spam Scald. I'm gonna put it on fast instead of normal. Giga Drain crit doesn't matter anyway. Volcarona is a free setup thanks to the Lumberry. He decided to go Outlanderous. I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, he can come back from this. So I get the Quiver Dance with Volcarona and I clean what is left from this team, from his team. And that's it. Not like this game, I guess, didn't have much to talk about because it was pretty one-sided and straightforward. But at least it showed how I tried to, like, I recognized that Team Preview, the Toxic Rogue, was going to do a lot of work, and it showed in my games that I really went for to set up the Toxic Rogue in the best conditions, as in getting the rain up. And as fast as possible, because when you have something so good in a matchup like this, you want to get it out as fast as possible, but don't rush it, of course. So you can take a big lead in the game. You take the advantage, and you can see that once you dismantle the team with your breaker, in this case Toxic Rogue, a lot of Pokemon start to look a lot more threatening, and you can establish win conditions for the late game. In this case, Volcarona. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As usual, I appreciate all kinds of feedbacks, and I'll try to answer your questions if you have any. If you have any recommendations or something else you want to say, once again, go in the comments or National profile. Until next time, see you guys.